But just kind of baseline, how did you guys feel about this movie? Like it, love it, didn't like it? I don't know.
I mean, I watched it on, I guess, Saturday. And I mean, Saturday, yeah. I mean, I definitely was laughing frequently throughout it. I mean, it was funny. I mean, it's not the original Borat. I mean, you can't necessarily capture lightning in a bottle twice.
Yeah.
But it has some totally outrageous moments in it that had me kind of like, Jesus, you know? Sacha Baron Cohen, typical. You know, if you like him, you're going to laugh. Like, in my opinion.
Yeah, I felt really similar. So I watched the Borat 2 when it came out, but I watched the original just a couple days ago just to compare it, and I'd agree that it's not. That movie was just so good. So I don't think Borat 2 is quite as good. That's not to say that Borat 2 is bad. It's just remembering how amazing that first one was.
Yeah.
But that being said, I was totally laughing out loud when I was watching this, and made you think sometimes. And I kind of liked that a little bit, or it was a good like mirror to society thing, as like he likes to do. I don't know if anything. It was also pretty shocking, which I think you expect. There were some kind of moments that raised some eyebrows, but in a good way. You okay, Joe?
He muted. Stepped away for a sec, I guess.
All right. How'd you feel, Adam?
Well, I think that maybe what happened a little bit with this movie was that in order to make kind of a more emotional arc or emotional narrative, he kind of sacrificed, I feel like the really off the cuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the off the cuff kind of sketch almost comedy, except it was real. It's real, and so that's always crazy.
Oh.
But but at the same time, I understand why he wanted maybe more of a narrative during these times, and I felt that. I mean, Sacha Baron Cohen thought it was really important to get this movie out before the election for some reason, right? So I don't know. I feel like he's feeling kind of a social conscious with this movie, perhaps a little bit more than he had in the first movie, or that in the first movie, maybe he didn't know for sure just how much of a kind of a message that movie was going to send. But this one, I think he was very aware of the kind of effect this movie has.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of talk about how the first movie was, also political, and if you didn't see the politics in it, you didn't get it. And I mean, there was certainly a political element to it, but I definitely think that this movie, I think the first movie, the number one thing was to make people laugh, right? Like
absolutely
a joke. And like there was a lot of moments that were just, the butt of the joke was just Borat being ridiculous. In this movie, there is definitely it's not a subtle message, right? He's hitting you over the head with it about what he's trying to say. I don't think it necessarily makes the movie bad because he still manages to pull out a lot of funny things. I was actually surprised with how many sketches he was able to get, given that everybody knows who Borat is. So
right.
I was like kind of worried that there wouldn't be enough of that, but I think there was a healthy amount of kind of gotcha moments between different characters, and it still was a pretty enjoyable overall. I mean, definitely.
So I don't know if anyone watched Who Is America, that show he did.
I've seen clips.
I mean, he's obviously switched. I mean, he goes pretty hard into the social commentary on that, like, I mean, way more than anything I thought he did in this movie, except this movie definitely has at least a couple of scenes that really had me just floored that there were like real scenes filmed in America again. Towards the end, like there's, again, you said without making any spoilers, but like there's one particular scene where he's performing in front of a crowd that is just, I could not believe that was real, like that those were real people. And it's pretty shocking. And to Adam's point about how he was trying to string more of a narrative, to me, it felt like they had like an idea of the ultimate gag of the movie, like the end payoff, and it created a narrative to like build to that. Like we have this one prank, this one giant gag we basically want to pull off. Let's write a story that gets us there, all kind of framing around that last end gotcha moment.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of the moments that in the original Borat would just seem totally spontaneous doesn't feel that way in this film.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a bad thing. It's just that the movie does feel like they're like it's rehearsed to some limited extent. Often I felt like people were more in on the joke, whoever was involved then in the original, in certain cases. Not going to go into the specific ones until the spoiler portion. But yeah, I think I think that this is not such a bad thing, because I thought that the emotional, like the pathos portion of this film worked. So like I felt like I don't know, I felt like I was more like engaged with the character work that was being done, in addition to the absurd kind of social gags.
I couldn't believe how much I actually got into the story that they were presenting. I mean, like you said, there's a significant amount of the movie that's rehearsed. I mean, that's just scenes between the two actors in the film. And I enjoyed those scenes. Like, when you're thinking you're watching Borat, you're waiting for them to be only doing the gags on others. But they were well written. It was well written. It was funny.
Yeah, I think part of the reason it worked is because even though the plot, the specifics of the plot maybe weren't that funny on their own, each of the actors were so good in being in character, and they're just so ridiculous and so goofy all the time, that no matter what the conversation was between them, like, it was going to be good. Like, they were going to be able to turn whatever it was into something that was like fairly humorous. And the fact that it had a little bit of a heart into it too, I think, didn't detract really. I think it was still pretty fun.
Yeah, the person who plays the daughter, I thought, did a fantastic job. Actually, for some of the pranks, I think she gives Sacha Baron Cohen a run for his money. She filled in those shoes quite nicely.
No, I totally.
Well, they had to use her.
Like, half this movie wouldn't have worked without her, and she pulled it off pretty much flawlessly.
Did you guys see the deleted scene that they put on Twitter?
No.
Of her, like, getting invited into the White House? Like, she got invited into the White House.
Wow.
Like, I can't even believe he didn't put that in the movie, just with how like how ridiculous it is that they treated her like press and like let her in. Unreal.
Yeah.
Like, he would never get in there. I mean, obviously at that point. I mean, I guess who knows? Because I mean, it seems like some of these people have no idea who he is still.
I wonder if that does, because some of the gag situations, the people being gagged seem to take it a lot better than the first movie. And I wonder is that just because times have changed, people are more aware of this kind of thing, or is it because the amount of people, like maybe in the first movie there was lots of scenes like that, but they just cut them because they had a bigger selection of like what could be better. Mm-hmm. Whereas in this one, you find the person who doesn't know who Borat is, and you need to
right.
for whatever that's worth. You just make it work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Adam said too, where he thought that there was more people. There might have been some people that made the final cut that like pretty much knew what was going on and just maybe like played along with it. Like, didn't fully know, but had an idea.
Yeah.
And I also think that, for what it's worth, when Borat came out, I felt like there was this big moment of, these are our neighbors. Our neighbors are ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
And like, maybe we're ridiculous too, and I mean, 4 years of recent political events, and I feel like some things we get to, some like almost Borat-esque bits we get to see on the news. Like, so I think that maybe there's an element of like, we're just kind of, we know that the joke is real life, and so maybe the movie just is not quite have the impact of seeing other people react to these things that it did back when Borat came out and George Bush was like the thing,
Mm-hmm.
Still pretty spooky though. Scariest horror film of 2020.
I mean, yeah, it like you said, real life is the joke, and yet like he still finds a way to show me something so ridiculous I couldn't even believe it happened. Like, and then I find myself obviously not surprised after the fact. Like, of course he can get people to say some of the things he did, but you still are just like, wow, no one bats an eye at it. They're laughing and cheering along with him, leading them in ridiculous, directions. Unreal.
But baseline, it's fair to say that everyone, enjoyed the movie.
Absolutely.
If you were to give it a review, it's a good review. We don't do numbers, but good review.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. And now's the time to kind of watch it. This
Right
political climate. Yeah.
Hell yeah.